Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy, and this is going to be a long-term review basically of the Razer Deathadder V3 Pro. Since I reviewed it around 2 months ago, it has easily been the mouse I've been putting the most time onto. I can't remember the last time that as a reviewer I have had like such of a main mouse since the GPX Superlight, so I do want to give a long-term review, talk about how my copy's held up, if I think it's worth it, just go over all aspects really and how they've changed with time. So the first thing I'm going to cover is the build quality, and there's nothing major to note over time. When I do squeeze it, I don't know if you can hear, like, there is a slight creak or like a slight pop on the shell, but when you're actually just gripping the mouse, even putting a lot of pressure in normal use, you're not going to have any issues with the shell quality. It does feel very solid, but if you do go for an issue by squeezing the mouse, you can get a bit of flexing that isn't there on something like the GPX. So in terms of noticeable build quality issues, there are really no issues with any of the buttons that have developed over time. The click quality feels quite literally the exact same as it did out of the box. So the optical switch implementation is not going to feel as sharp as it does on the Viper V2 Pro. I'm pretty sure it's just due to like the shell design. The clicks are definitely made to be light. There is going to be a bit of pre and post travel, but in actual use they have a very bouncy and spammable feeling. The response on them feels amazing. Obviously, using the 4000 hertz polling rate is going to have the lowest click latency out of any wireless mouse. And yeah, there's not much variance in sound between the clicks. Just all of the buttons sound test. I don't know if you want to hear the other buttons. There's really been no issues with them. The side buttons are still the best side buttons out of any mouse in my opinion. Like, the positioning is just perfect. The actuation is extremely light. They're spammable, they're big, the positioning's perfect. There's not any issues with pre or post travel. They're just beautifully tensioned. I don't know what is so hard for other companies about side button implementation, but Razer gets it right. I'm just going to quickly cover this since it's a white mouse and people always ask, like, is it going to get dirty? Is it going to look nasty? I haven't cleaned this mouse at all. What other YouTuber is not cleaning their mouse to show grime accumulation? And it's really not bad, honestly. If I just wipe this off once, the mouse will look new. There's no issues with yellowing or like the coating coming off like what happened on the white GPX, obviously, because this mouse is not coated in the same way. In terms of the coating, though, it still feels consistent. There hasn't been any issues with parts of the mouse feeling slippery. I still don't think it's an especially premium coating, but I have been managing to use it just fine without grip tape. The shape is obviously the same, and I have covered the shape extensively, but to put it simply, this is something like an EC1 or a slightly modified Glorious Model D, and it is just an ergo shape that feels amazing. And I am somebody, there's not another ergo mouse on my desk, but seriously, if you palm or claw grip and have large, I would say above 19 by 10 centimeter hands, this is just it's a generational mouse. This is the Victor Wembanyama of gaming mice. The 64 gram weight is not going to be like the lightest weight on the market. Obviously, mice are releasing with lower weights than that, but the distribution, the balancing, and just the overall like feeling in hand, since this is such a large shell, it feels distributed very well. I've never once thought like, wow, this thing feels heavy in the slightest. It's just a very easy mouse to control. Since it's a large shape that my palm makes a lot of contact with, I don't have any issues with stability either. It has really just been like a best of all worlds mouse. So yeah, the Deathadder V3 has held up extremely well in all regards, basically, besides the stock skates, which were pretty thin to begin with, and now they are paper thin, nearly all the way worn down. Part of that has definitely been using the mouse on rougher pads, so I'm just going to replace them. It's not really a big deal. And I'm going to talk about the wireless and the battery life. After using this mouse for a while, I've gotten a pretty good idea of what I think of the hyper polling dongle long term, along with the battery life on this mouse. So as I've said multiple times before, 1000 hertz to 4000 hertz is not going to like elevate your game to the next step. You are not going to become a better person, a better gamer, a better human, but you will have better mouse input, and I don't feel like that's something worth writing off. So yeah, there's without a doubt a noticeable improvement in mouse feeling. I strongly believe 4000 hertz or like just higher polling rates are going to be the standard in the future, so there's no reason not to adopt it early, especially if you already have the mouse. And yeah, really the only trade-off for the increase in polling rate has been battery life, and I've been able to judge the battery life pretty well. I would say if you're using the mouse a lot, you're going to get 2 days of like intense use, and then on the third day you're probably going to want to charge the mouse, but it does charge really fast, and if you get the dongle, it displays like the percent that your battery's at, so you'll always be able to know like when it needs to charge. Ultimately, the lower battery life, like yes, it is annoying having to charge the mouse more than something like a GPX or a Final mouse or even mice with like 3395s. So I'd say battery life's not too big of a deal overall. Whenever I see the thing start to blink red, I just plug it in for like 20 minutes and then I'm chilling for a few days. And I think that's really all. There's not much else to talk about. Oh yeah, the scroll wheel. The scroll wheel's been fine. I've made some jokes about this being a comically large scroll wheel, and I mean, it's just feeling fine. No issues with it feeling scratchy. It's been very consistent. The click is not heavy by any means. It's just been a solid scroll wheel like the rest of this mouse. And that's going to be all for this long-term update review style video. Hopefully it helps some people who were maybe on the fence about trying the mouse, because really, I only have good things to say about it after continuing to use it. One thing they could do, since this is primarily a shape for people with large hands, is make a mini version. And a mini version would just make a lot of sense for people with like medium or smaller hands who maybe do not want a mouse this large that could potentially be a bit too bulky for them. And yeah, it's going to be all for this update vid. This is definitely my main mouse, and I imagine it will continue to be for some time. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't see a better mouse than this releasing for the rest of the year. But yeah, I'm actually interested. If you got a Deathadder V3 Pro, let me know what you think of it, especially if you had a bad experience, because I've seen a lot of people having good experiences. I wonder why. But yeah, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I really do recommend this mouse. It's going to keep being my main, and peace.